Okay, reconvening the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners on September 18th. We are going to regular business number 3, North Park Racket Facility discussion.
Commissioners, this item is on the agenda tonight to discuss some of the aspects that were discussed at the last meeting when the ranking was done and the Malcolm Butters group prevailed as the selected proposer for North Park. So there was a multitude of items that you all discussed at the end of that meeting, and we're here tonight to talk about that and the things that you would like to see out there. Mr. Butters is here tonight as well in the audience. If you haven't met him, we'll introduce you after the meeting, but we're here just tonight to have that discussion and see what everybody's looking for out at North Park. That's it.
I'll try to make this simple and less painful by providing a motion and then opening it for, hopefully someone will second it for further discussion, and then we can modify it. But you know, in general, I was very much impressed with the proposals that were provided and kind of blew away my expectations of what could happen. And it also highlighted the many things that we didn't consider. There is, I think it's pretty firm and definite, there will be a road going through Clinton Moore Jeffrey. And that does have implications of the location, the design of everything. I would certainly ask for the connectivity to have a tunnel at that same time. That also has to be considered and factored into things, how it'll all be connected. It also means that the city will be actively involved in whatever we do. And so I would say we have a great opportunity in front of us to do many things. I liked all top 3 proposals that were provided, and I'd like to pursue them. So with that, I have 2 motions I'd like to make, but I'll just start with one. So we start with the discussion around it, and then possibly a third. But the first motion is to request that our executive director work with the winning bidder to work through some of a broader scope of the whole southeast park. And what I mean by that is the motion is to reevaluate the entire southeast with the objectives of something that is family friendly. I would encourage a partnership with the Y and minimizing the district cost, expand, you know, it has to have an exceptional recreation content, and it has to have a city buy-in. Those are the concepts of it. And then I'm open for someone to second that.
Just so you know.
We can second it and then we'll.
And so I have a question though. So is this something you're looking to build out the entire southeast portion of that green space?
Yes. Well, no, it's a combination. It's reevaluate the entire southeast with working with the selected bidder.
Okay.
I think that's too big a chunk to bite off of. I do agree with Craig on one thing, is that we need to consider the entrance to the property with Clinton Moore Road going through. And I do believe that we have our architectural firm looking into a tunnel between the north and the south side. You know, at the same token, you know, I don't have any concept as to what I want to put south of where Boca Paddle facility is going to be without having some general discussion. And I'm not, I think the motion started out where I could have seconded, but I can't second the motion now where he's talking about bringing in the YMCA to that parcel. I think they have a tremendous offering, but I'm not sure that that's the location that I would put for that facility. Then I think there's other better places if we're going to undertake that opportunity rather than this component here. I think we'd planned the southeast to be more walking and trails rather than an active recreational area. And it would be a little complicated getting that wedged in there, in my opinion. But um, uh, we're talking about ideas, so, but I'm not prepared to make that motion, second that motion based upon, the content of further developing this, the southern part of the, eastern, part of the park.
I agree with you, Bob, on that one. We did a master plan for North Park. We did the master plan for the 4 quadrants. And I think we did a good job doing that. And I think we kind of put placeholders where we want development. And we kept the green space where we wanted to keep green space. And I think building out a majority of one of the quadrants kind of deviates from what we were aiming for on that. I think we were trying to keep mostly green space on most of the quadrants for the residents that live in that area. And I think the number one thing people wanted were trails, right? That's what we put there, trails. And I think connecting it with the racket facility is a great idea. Again, I think for me, I would want a facility that's going to integrate into the park and connect with the nature aspect of the park, right? So the mountain bike trails that are going to be coming along the railroad tracks, the multi-use trails connecting into the racket facility for people to be able to get there, connect with the sidewalk area from Clintmore that connects to El Rio. So I agree with Bob. I think that keeping the development portions that we kind of outlined is what we kind of wanted to keep. So that's where I kind of stand on that.
Fails and start over. Okay. Then let's talk about what we learned from that. So what I learned from it is that the footprint of anything that is going in there has not got good consideration for what could be put in there one way or another. And so it's going to require significant adjustment. And further, where the hotel site, you know, the only reason I went into this whole thing with the property, the whole 212 acres was the value of the hotel site should be some kind of facility one way or another, whether that's the Y, another hotel or another apartment building. That site is very valuable to pay for anything that could be developed out there. And if you want to get out of this with the least amount of cost to the taxpayers and to build these trails and to build everything, I think you really got to give consideration to building on that particular site, because that site has the infrastructure. Nothing else really has it. So your only 2 corners that have infrastructure to build something is the southeast or the southwest corner. If you want to do a Y somewhere else, that's fine. But this is the time to pick it and discuss it. And I think you're going to find it highly unlikely any investor is going to jump into this building. And what we saw was 20 to 25 million investment going into something with a concession agreement. That concession agreement is kind of an unknown, and it's something to work through. Maybe it could be okay, but we've heard from our residents over there that it could be challenged. And so anyone who is investing a lot of money is going to want something that is very bulletproof. And I can tell you what is bulletproof for this district is to donate land to the city. And the entire parcel could be donated to the city. But the city will be wanting to look at what do we want to do? And it's a joint partnership as it should be. We are a taxing authority. We happen to own some very big parcels. I think it's just a realistic thing to work closer with the city. But before you go to the city, you got to have a complete design and say, here's what would work. And I think it would be remiss to forget the corner completely, because I don't want to go through this exercise again like we did with Ocean Strand, where we said, okay, let's just put a path in and boom, that's it. This is that, then that's what you're going to get. And it will be, we spent a lot of time here talking through these things. This is the time to focus on one section. We've already defined the northeast side, and I think it's beautiful. The southeast side is the opportunity to finish it out. Let someone just give you the ideas of what could be done, what's the best way to do it. And quite frankly, I think the community part of it as the Y would be a good addition between the two. Why not let them figure it out? If you have a better idea of where you want to go with the Y, fine. let's do it because time takes too long. This has taken a long time. We know what we have here.
How long have you been running this fever, Craig? You know, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but the timing of this is, you know, kind of complicates where we're going if it means delaying anything. I want to ask Jake this question because I've been listening to the comments long enough to where I want to put this to rest. Jake, as far as our ability to follow through with the RFP, and I think you've given us legal advice and we've had advice from the state attorney's office, but I want to resolve this once for all that what we're doing, we are allowed to do.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner, and if I may, to the commission, through the chair. So you're correct, Commissioner. You may recall that in 2021, at the board's direction, we requested an opinion of the Attorney General, which examined some specific provisions of our charter, specifically with regards to our power. And as was indicated earlier today, we know that we do not have the ability to sell, to lease, or to convey district-owned property. Shortly after that opinion was published, our office published a legal memorandum. Actually, it was on August 27, 2021. It's a public record. It's certainly available to any of the proposers and anybody else who'd like to see a copy. That went into an analysis of what options may be available to the district given the limitations in our charter. There are some options. We referenced a concessionaire agreement. We talked about a license agreement, a facility use agreement, an operator's agreement, a facility management agreement. There are different ways to structure a relationship short of conveying property through either a lease or an actual sale. So we're very comfortable that given the opportunity to meet with any proposer, we could structure a relationship and structure an agreement that was consistent with the district's charter and the limitations in the charter, particularly as it relates to conveying or otherwise, leasing our property. I don't know if that answers your question, Commissioner, but the short answer is, subject to negotiations, which would occur at some later date, there are options available to the district. There are several of them. We've seen all of them work in a number of other public capacities in other venues and other jurisdictions. And we're fairly confident we'd be able to negotiate an agreement that was comfortable to the district, consistent with our charter, and accommodated any future partner in the context of the park development.
In your opinion, this decision is bulletproof, in other words, using Craig's terminology?
Well, again, there are options.
Okay.
To suggest that we don't have any options in any manner to enter into a relationship with a third party partner to develop North Park, I think would be a little misguided. There are a number of legal vehicles and different types and forms of agreements that would accomplish that objective consistent with the limitations in our charter.
Jake, I wish more members of the public were here to listen to that statement, but because that's been indicated more than once, and I wanted to put that item to rest totally. As far as that southeast corner where the hotel was, perhaps that could be some type of an income producing facility. I don't know how the residents feel about it, but I think that I thought we had pretty well planned out the east side of the course of that property to the hills, and I think we have 165 acres on the other side of the street that we could do wonderful things with. Some of the things that Craig was mentioning, that southwest corner might be an area that might be adaptable to some revenue producing area. But I think for the purpose of the agenda, we're talking about the North Park Racket Facility discussion, right? So I want to get back to cases on that. And I know Craig made a motion which hasn't been seconded yet. So in deference to Craig, I want to make sure that if we either the motion dies for lack of a second or we get a second for discussion, just to give, I want to give Craig that opportunity. So.
All right, this is just a general discussion now.
I mean, in terms of donating any land to the city. I'm not in favor of that. I just don't think, I mean, who know, the city could take it and run. I mean, I don't expect them to, if we donated land to them, I don't expect them to come to us and say, well, what do you want to do with this land? I don't have faith that would happen 100%, and that would be a big leap of faith. And I think that we're okay keeping our land and planning what we're going to do there. So
I mean, my thought on it is all that is worked out ahead of time with an interlocal agreement. So you wouldn't just, I mean, it would be, in order to, one of the options that Jake describes is all fine and dandy. If we go back to the state attorney general and they agree with them and counsel for the other party agrees with everyone, no issue. There is no issue. We own it and we can do whatever kind of structured agreement. If we can't, though, what I'm suggesting is you can give the property to the city. And you can say, here's the roadmap and the plan. Okay, the city can work through all that part of the agreement too, if they agree with our concept and the general structure. And it would also require an interlocal agreement with us. And to me, it's both parties are neutral. We're all working for the greater good of the residents.
but I mean, we have our attorneys first to be able to work with the group that we're working with to be able to figure that out. So we don't even need to think about that at this point. I don't think. I have faith in our attorneys that something will be able to be figured out based on the opinion that we have. So I don't think that's necessarily anything that needs to be discussed at this point. If we get to that point, of course, we can discuss it. But I think it's a moot point at this point based on what we have in front of us. Steve.
Back to discussing the here and now for the east side of North Park, which is something that's under our control. I appreciate, Craig, you wanting to talk about doing things with the city and incorporating development of the hotel site in the western part of the property. But I think our first priority should be talking about what's happening with the east side. I voted, I ranked rather, the Birders Group first. I thought the other groups had merit, most of them. But the thing that sits in my mind when it comes to putting a food facility, a restaurant facility that's going to generate upwards of 90% of the revenue for a specific property. I still have nightmares about Russell Steakhouse that used to be on this site. And when I got onto the commission, all it was an empty space with a big hole in the roof. I don't want to be stuck with a property that we can't do anything with because it's a restaurant and the people that are running it all of a sudden can't run it. Restaurants are notorious, whether it's a restaurant by itself or a freestanding combination facility. They're notorious for their instability. And it's not because of mismanagement or the people that they get to work for them. A lot of times they're victims of circumstance. They're a niche operation, which is what a restaurant on this in this facility would be. And niche operations are subject to the whims of the public. So you had a great restaurant chain called Houlihan's a few years ago and TGI Fridays that did land office business. Why? To be honest with you, I don't know. Food was but nonetheless, you'd go into a TGI Fridays on a weekend and you'd see waits of 45 minutes, an hour and a half for cheeseburger. Both TGI Fridays and Houlihan's are gone, as are a lot of other niche chains. So I would want to stay away from anything that depends primarily on on food and beverage for their revenue. I agree that the recreation facilities on the east side need to be family oriented. But I think we can do that within the bounds of whatever agreement we work out with the Butters Group. And if that means setting up a couple of cornhole facilities, or a community room, or anything like that, I think that can be done. But I think we're asking for trouble when we look at a facility that depends upon food and beverage for its income. I think we have to look for other things besides food and beverage to generate revenue.
I think we're a little off topic here. We need to talk about the racket facility because we've already selected a proposer to run the facility. And I think there's merit to what Craig is having to say. I don't agree that we should donate any part of this property to the city unless there's a fail safe that we have an issue with. And but I think we're in good shape with Jake's opinion. We've used them for many years and I've gotten good advice from them, and I expect we will. As far as the facility goes, I was impressed with their proposal with the indoor facility. I think it's going to be a nice quiet amenity, being indoors like it is, and I think it'll be good neighbors to the community. I do like the idea of having. I think it was mentioned that there would be an indoor court available for open play, but I think the social aspect of the outdoor seems to be more adaptable to that than just having one facility for open play. I do want the user fees to reflect the fact that we've donated the land for which is what we bought for the residents to preserve. And I hope that in negotiating the fees, Brianne, when you talk about that, is that you reflect on the fact that we want to give our residents the best possible deal on this without. And as far as the non-residents, I think that we need to charge them a little more with Patch Reef because the facility is in the county and we have an ILA with the county. We have to charge the county residents the resident fee, which is okay. I'm not complaining about that, but I think when you get to the indoor facility, I think it'll be in high demand, and I want to make sure that our residents get first crack at all the times that, and hope they can keep it busy. But I'm excited about the possibility of having this at the location. I think that this is something that they can do very well, and I'm looking forward to watching this project come out of the ground by 2025. I think that early 2025, maybe.
Good relationship with the planning and zoning department, right?
Well, I think they've had experience with planning and zoning, so I
Hope so.
yeah, I hope so too. I hope so
Go
too.
ahead, Susie.
Welcome, Butters Group. I do have a couple of requests. Some outdoor family activities. Is that a possibility to incorporate, like Bob was saying, the cornhole or the Jenga or bocce ball or whatever that families can gather while maybe dad's playing pickleball or mom's playing pickleball, and the kids could be out there with the other parent or other supervision. Also, would you be amenable to public input at a future meeting, maybe one of the meetings in October, just to see what else the public might have in mind? Is it okay if you speak? Thank you, Malcolm.
You commissioners and the public. Malcolm Butters, 1492 Thatch Palm. I am a resident of Boca. I'm joined here by my partner, Mitch Robbins, who is probably known to you guys as well as I am. So we are thankful. This is just, Brianne, I think, reached out to me on Friday late. Can you come on Monday? So I'm like, yeah. So we moved some things on the schedule. This is not a final thing, and I'm glad we got some great input from the residents and from the commission. So this is just an opening, right? It's going to take a while to negotiate whether it's a concession agreement or a license agreement, and to address, Jacob's comment. We don't have a problem with it because our goal is to do this facility out of cash. So when you do it with a loan, you have to cater to lenders' needs, and there's a little more nuanced discussion, right, on first mortgages. But if you do it out of cash, then you don't have to worry about some of the lien rights that go along with that. I think a license agreement, I'm not an attorney. I think they work great. I think in the package Brianne gave us, you guys pointed out that Coral Springs, their ice rink in Coral Springs was I believe a license agreement. It's worked fabulously, I think, with the city of Coral Springs. And it's been a great benefit to the public.
I'm sorry, Mr. Butters, the Coral Springs Ice Rink Agreement is a concessionaire agreement.
A concession agreement. That's what I'm saying. We're open to the concession agreement, or license agreement, but it's worked out fabulously, I think, with the city of Coral Springs. So again, I just want to thank you, and I have some very brief remarks. And again, this is not negotiating. We're definitely open, Commissioner Susan, to all the suggestions and the outdoor facilities. I think actually Mitch and I, when we were putting together the RFP, we scaled it back because we didn't want to get too grandiose, with hotels and whatever else. We thought it would open up too much of a Pandora's box and slow us down. I think the residents are yearning for recreational. They're yearning for pickleball. We want to put in there paddle, whatever it's called. Seems to be growing also very fast. As a matter of fact, I took my first lesson this week. It's an amazing sport. So there's a variety of needs besides pickleball. I think the indoor aspect is much needed. Right now everything's outdoor. Giving an example, I wanted to play yesterday morning over at the resort, and we got there, the courts were wet. So we went to have breakfast, and the instructor from the resort said, "Oh yeah, it's come back at 10:30." Well, we said, "Okay, we'll come back at 11:30." What happened? It rained at 11:30, and that was the end of it. And besides just the rain, the heat. I mean, I'm not old. I forgot which resident had to come up here. The gentleman here in the blue. I'm getting older too. My wife has medical issues with the heat. To have an indoor facility that's, climate controlled and protects against the rain and everything, I think is sorely needed by all the residents of Boca Raton. But again, thank you. This is really not about me. I mean, I helped to put this together, and I've known Craig over the years, and we responded to the RFP. We put together a tremendous team. Mitch Robbins, who's here, who's our partner, and also our partner on the ice rink. Mitch owns the Wyndham Hotel. He owns Farmer's Table. He's the majority owner of the ice rink here in Boca Raton that we did together. We put that ice rink together in 2 years. 1 year to build it, 1 year through the city. So we could have gone quicker if the city moves fast. But I think to some of the commissioners' comments, the city and the planning department don't move that quickly. As a matter of fact, Mitch and I have an office building here that used to be the old Nipper site across from Boca Center. We're doing our office building there. We're doing a new Mutual of America building for them and planning and zoning. And we have another building, a smaller one under. So we have extensive 30-year history of planning and zoning, and we could certainly get through it. But our team, again, get back to team, Mitch, again, he lives in the city, ice rink, Farmer's Table. He owns the Farmer's Table restaurant that all you guys, I'm sure, know. So he has tremendous hospitality. Red, that's right. Red, exactly. The Chinese restaurant, a Red Pine, which is fabulous. And then the rest of the team, Brian Levine, who's with us, he's the chairman of the Major League Pickleball Association that just merged with the Carvana Professional Players Association. MLP. So that's huge, right? He's on the board. City Pickle, which runs several, runs the one in New York City at Woolman Rink, as well as Long Island, Philadelphia. They're our managing partner for the pickleball. My wife Catherine's a resident. She's involved. Stuart Davis, who presented because I was out of town, tremendous. He's a ranked pickleball player. So this team is really, I know sometimes they say Butters team, but it's really about the whole team. It's an amazing, amazing team that we put together. And we want to thank the Beach and Park District for having the confidence in our team. On a couple of quick points, because the family, yes, Susan, definitely, again, we're open to some outdoor things, whether it's, a beach volleyball, or it could be an outdoor basketball court or something. We're open to it. We're open to some discussion in October. We do think it's a family facility. This is not just for professional pickleball players. Inside our proposal, very initial proposal, we had childcare, we have plans for camps, for clinics, for underprivileged children, after school activities. So again, there's a whole program inside this building, which I think, to the point of Patch Reef, you could see how valuable an indoor open facility is, given our climate here. The dollars, I think one of the residents talked about, 3%, 4%, that's open to negotiation, and the free courts. We have to figure out the business plan and what works for both of us. The difference, again, this is an indoor court. We're doing it with our own money. We think it's going to be a $14 million facility. And to Commissioner Engel's point, this is not a liquor and food driven prospect. We based our model, and I think we showed, it's mostly based on user fees and membership fees and all that. The food and beverage component, I should say, is important because that keeps people there. It creates that sense of community, more of that recreational thing, but it's not the driver. So I agree with Commissioner Engel that, if you make it gimmicky, and some of the other proposals, I don't think they're gimmicky because they're legitimate, but they're more based on food and liquor. And again, we didn't base it on having a liquor license or not. Obviously, I'm sure a lot of adults would like to have beer and wine and maybe liquor, but that's open for discussion. But we're there for kids, we're there for families, and to have a recreational component. For Commissioner Ernst, Craig's point, very flexible on the master plan. Again, it was just for a proposal. We put it on the location that you guys suggested. I agree, we could tweak it, right? Whether the parking lot's on the west or the east or behind it. So we have an open venue to create a bigger master plan, right? To create the connectivity between the north and the south. I think that's crucial. And whatever might go behind it, to the south of us. Mitch and I think we're open to the YMCA. We thought it was a tremendous proposal. They didn't have the money. I think it wasn't really a racket facility. It was a very all-encompassing, and it was extraordinary proposal. Very open to having them next to us. And we don't think it's a competition, to have them. We think it's complementary. So if there's a way to work that in, again, separate from our proposal, but you could negotiate a different deal with them. And that would be great. I think so. The connectivity to the trails, I think, is a great idea. I forgot which commissioner said, the Commissioner Wright, thank you. Yeah, we had that in our vision, connecting to the El Rio and having that all open space. We think the master plan that you guys put forward is great. We think speed's important, though. We don't want to get too bogged down because, like the Planning and Zoning Board and Boca Raton, I think it's a terrible idea to give the city that piece of land because I think it's going to get caught in a whole bureaucracy. I think you could control your destiny. Mitch and I are totally committed to figuring out how to fast track this. The construction part, I think, is going to be the easy part. You could see you called us on a Friday. We're here on a Monday. We're all local. I think that's another differentiator between us and some of the other groups that presented. You know us. We have a track record, and we're here to get it done and not nickel and dime the board. We're open to hotel uses. Mitch owns the Wyndham Hotel here in the city. That's next to Farmer's Table, so he has experience. I'm personally involved in 2 hotels in Coconut Creek, the Marriott Residence Inn and the Hampton Inn. So we have that hotel capability if you so wish. Again, our proposal is not dependent on it, but if you think that's a generator of income, we think it would be great component to the master plan. Because we think, if you do have tournaments and you want to bring in guests and tourists, if you have a hotel there and this becomes a center of pickleball and paddle or whatever, we think that could be a huge benefit to the city, not only to generate revenue for the park district, but to generate tourism dollars. Pickleball travel tour is a big component now. And again, we didn't want to overdo it because we had another vision where we threw in a lot of different things internally, hotels, and we had, apartments, but we didn't do that because we knew that would be overwhelming. This was an RFP for a racket facility, and that was our goal, to give you the best racket facility, one that we could afford to do internally, one that we could do for cash, and one that we didn't have to get bogged down with the city and traffic plans and all that other stuff. So again, we thank you. And again, we're very open and we look forward to more discussions with the city and with the public to kind of figure this out. I know, Mitch, yeah.
I'm sorry. State your name and your address, please.
Mitchell Robbins, 461 South Mayapam in Boca Raton, Florida. Malcolm and I have we both have been fortunate to do projects outside of Boca Raton. And we've done them in New England, we've done them in Texas, we've done them in Carolina, we've done them in many different parts of Florida, but they really don't, they mean something as far as a financial foundation, but they don't mean something as far as being part of the city. Like when we did the skating ring, when you walk down the street and someone comes up to you and says, "Oh, my kids are playing hockey now. I have something to take them to do. I so appreciate that you've done that hockey ring and you've made living in Boca more enjoyable for our family." So I think this particular project, it wasn't so much about a P&L, it's about having the pride of living in Boca and doing something for the city of Boca. No different than, everything that we've been involved in as far as restaurants, as far as when we did Farmers Table. One of the things we tried to do was to create classes for the third grades in the surrounding area and teach them about farming and teach them about yoga. And it's always about trying to create projects that we take pride living in the city of Boca. So even in this particular project, we know there's going to be changes. We know that there is things that we would all like to add because we have kids that live in Boca. I know my kids are very active in basketball. They're very active in lacrosse. They're active in a lot of different programs. I have to take my kids for basketball to Boynton because there isn't the same type of facility. As far as I know, we have Boca Hoops, but there's always the difficulties in trying to get the right training for them. So there's so many different things that we could actually do to create this more family-like. But we looked at the proposal, and this is what's great about Malcolm, because when we do the projects, to have a developer like Malcolm, that you have the comfort level that being one of the largest developers in the state as far as industrial, and knowing we're going to get a great project built, the ability to just create something really great and that we can all be proud of for our kids and our families and for the city of Boca. So that's what I have to say.
I just gonna add one more thing. Mitch is involved in the day-to-day operations of the ice rink. He reminded me 900 kids a day walk into the ice rink Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So to the conversation with some of the residents that were concerned about being not family inclusive, that's a good example of, an indoor arena. And you would think it's only a bunch of, hockey guys. And I was born in Montreal, so I love hockey. But it's not. It's for recreation, kids, open skating lessons. There is, of course, hockey there, but they also have the bumper cars on ice, and they have the music lessons I think they have there, and the dancing lessons there. So it's a whole thing. And we envision, again, it's a racket facility, but our model is not really based on the professional pickleball guys. It's about older guys like myself. It's about families coming in there. It's about after school programs. It's about underserved community members getting time, through sponsorship to learn something and not have to hang out on the street. It's about camps. It's about a lot of things. And we want to share that in the future, some of the marketing plans, but I just don't want, I want to leave you with that that message. It is about family and recreation.
Brianne, can we set aside a time that the public could come back and give Mr. Butters and Mr. Robbins their input, and that way everybody can have a say?
Special meeting, or you want just a regular meeting? Well, I'll work with them on their team on their schedules. Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'm really impressed with your the way you've gone about to the presentation, your thought that's been into it, especially from the family's activity, because having a recreation facility that can bring community together is exactly what we're looking for. And I'm delighted to hear your concept for this facility and how you've done with the ice arena too. We'll look forward to working with you on that. Thank you.
Well, I guess I should have had these guys speak first. My whole concept was give them space, just give them the opportunity to look at the environment. If the four corners of a racket facility is all we want, so be it. But at least give them the opportunity to, what would you do correctly? And what would you do from a development standpoint? Also, I'm saying, be flexible, allow them to come back. You can come back and say, oh, you got to stay here in the smaller area and the square feet. But I think you want to design this with some flexibility and allow them to tell us that. That's all.
Bob, did you have anything?
And say Craig's on to something there. So I would certainly, I wouldn't want to get so distracted over our project but I think there's, opportunities there if presented.
I
So
would say there's opportunities for sure, but I would say apartments are probably not in the mix there. If it were because you did mention apartments. I would say that's probably not something that's on our.
well, that didn't stimulate any interest by me, but I think that to Craig's point, I think there's other things. I mean, these gentlemen have been very successful at what they do, and if they can provide some input to us, I'm certainly receptive to it. And in your discussions, Brianne, don't close the door on any opportunity without bringing it to us and let us have a look at it. So
And definitely feedback from the residents, obviously. I think there'll be quite a few people here if we put that out there, that they'll be here to give you their feedback. So.
Just like what we did previously, we do a special community meeting where we allow them to, they can go A, B, C, 3 different proposals, whatever it is, and we can narrow it down, but give them that flexibility, get the community input. What's different between a developer and Miller Lake is, to me, they're very different because they're kind of master planning the whole thing. They know what they know, but in the development community, you're trying to ask someone else for money. We couldn't get 15 million out of the city for a golf course. And here's someone who's saying, I'm going to invest 15 million into a racket facility in a smaller footprint of it. So I think you got to get some kind of flavor and a feel. And I think we all said we want something family friendly and oriented. There's elements that I think need to be in this section that let them flush it out a little bit more and just focus on that southeast corner.
working on this indoor facility. I don't want to get so distracted about that, but I'm certainly listening to other options. But our primary objective is to get this facility up and running for the community. So anything else that we can benefit on the side would certainly be appreciated, that input. So.
Ernst just mentioned having a special public meeting. Are we looking for first a meeting, just a regular meeting for the public to give their feedback? And then you're saying that they would present 3 different concepts, because that was a different type of public meeting that you just mentioned.
So
Getting what our objective is, so we don't want to get so many ideas that we bog these gentlemen down, because we got to get this project going. And because I know there's a lot of folks there that are interested in playing indoor pickleball.
So we'll move on to approval of payroll and invoices.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion for approval of payroll and invoices in the amount of $428,551.47.
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang, Commissioner Wright. Motion passes.
Reports and discussion items.
Commissioners, I forwarded an email. The city postponed their hearing for the extension of the CRA that was scheduled for last week. They did send out a new notice, so that meeting is scheduled for October 11th at 6 p.m. And we're working on the application for the exemption. For the first meeting, we also talked about the option to cap the CRA payment. So we'll put that on the agenda for our October 3rd meeting to discuss that process. And then the futsal surface at Sugar Sand Park is going to be finished this week. I don't know if anybody's seen it. I've seen some photos of it and we posted it on social media as well. And it looks really nice. So I haven't been out there yet, but I'm going to go out this week and check it out when it's done. We hope to have the final or close to final playground design for Patch Reef, hopefully by mid-October, so we can take another look at that. And then all of you received your beach permits tonight on your dais. So you can get out to the beaches again. That's all I have.
Add that we're working with Brianne on the CRA items that she mentioned. With that comment aside, I have nothing further. Thank you.
Something else, but I'm not going to adjourn you. No, kidding. I just want to make mention. I had the opportunity this week to take a tour of the facilities at the YMCA, and I thank you guys for taking the time to show me around. I was very impressed. I think there's a place for collaboration between the district and the Y. To me, there's no doubt. And I think as time goes on and we start looking at development of other pieces of North Park, you guys should definitely be a part of it. That's all I have.
So on the Y, I too also have toured the Y, and as a past chair of the board there at the Y, it just reminded me of all the great things they're doing there, which I do appreciate. But what has caught my attention particularly was the adult disabled services that are needed in the community and was purely demonstrated. And I was very impressed with it. And I'll tell you, it not only reminded me when I toured there yesterday when I was at Publix, you know, the person, the cashier, was clearly a special needs person who is a active, functioning person in the community. And as we go forward with Patch Reef, and particularly the community center, I would like to ask that maybe our board chair explore with the Y expanding adult special needs services. And the reason I say that is because the community center is very much underutilized. And if we were to do something for adult special needs there, I think it would fit well with the barrier-free park and probably ties into a master plan. I think that's a good concept, but that facility is clearly underutilized and the Y has the experience. And I just think it would be good if maybe Brianne could further explore it and invite them back to explain what they could do as expanding that part of it.
I wish I could lift up Craig's head and see his brain, see how it works, because it's amazing. And thank you for all the comments, Craig. I do enjoy participating at these meetings with you. I'm going to miss probably that October meeting, Brianne. I'm gonna have some shoulder surgery on the Thursday, the 28th. So I'll be out of action for hopefully a very short time. But I will not be able to make that meeting.
First of all, to those of you who are celebrating the new year, Happy New Year to you. Another thing is I want to thank Chuck for his work on our social media. I think he's doing a really, really good job, and keep up the good work, Chuck. Craig, I'm totally in your corner with the special needs adult program. There is a need. I know it personally from the people I work with at Top Soccer. We have adult players from 18 into their 40s who generally don't have any place to go, don't have anything to do. They sit and watch television. If they're in a group home, it's kind of a sad existence. So I would like to pursue that as well. I think that there is fundraising that could be done by the Y to get this going. I would be more than happy to help contact some of the parents and see, what their needs are and the times and what have you. So thank you to the YMCA for being here.
Can I ask, do we need a motion to direct Brianne to explore it further with the Y, or is that? So I'd like to make a motion that our executive director explore adult special needs programming with the Y.
Ernst. Commissioner Engel. Commissioner Rollins. Commissioner Vogelsang. And Commissioner Wright. Motion passes.
Okay, I have nothing tonight, so we're all good.
Commissioner Ernst. Commissioner Engel.
Yes. We are adjourned.